All right, what's up, YouTube? So today's video, I'm gonna be going over why 92% of men will never see their abs. And you might be saying, that statistic seems crazy. How can only 8% of men have abs? And, I just found out about that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, there's no way. But I looked it up for myself, and it's true. And I'm gonna go show you in the next slide. But yeah, and it's kind of surprising because literally that picture in the middle there, I was like 20 years old. I think I was only training for like 2 years at the time. Pretty solid six pack when I was just like 2 years into lifting. So getting your abs, like having a good solid six pack, does not take that long to, or doesn't take that long to get. So I'm gonna go over the common mistakes that men are making that are keeping them from getting a six pack, basically. So this is the truth. 1 in 3 men were considered obese in 2022. For some reason, I couldn't really find the statistic in 2023, but I'm gonna assume that it's higher because obviously the obesity rate is not going down anytime soon, unfortunately, in America. A majority of Americans are overweight or obese. I mean, I'm sure if you just, look around when you go out and about, like go to the store or something, you see it for yourself. But yeah, stop overlooking your health, guys, because it is important. If you don't have your health, then what do you have, right? Health is really everything. So in the bottom right there, you can see that only 8% of men have a visible six pack, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, there's common mistakes that men are making that are holding them back, basically, from not being able to achieve a six pack year round. So you guys, stop overlooking your health. I know you say you don't have time, you say you got bad genetics, but really, at the end of the day, if it was important to you, if your health was genuinely important to you, then you would prioritize it and get in shape. Not saying you need a six pack, not saying you need a six pack to say, but you would definitely, the obesity rate would be much lower if people really cared about their health. Which some of you guys might be saying that's ignorant of me to say, but I don't know, man. Body fat is not based on just genetics, it's lifestyle and habits. So I don't know. So actual reasons why men do not have six packs. Well, it's 100% relied on body fat. Okay, most men are, I don't know, 25, 30% body fat, I would say. And obviously, you're never going to be able to see your abs if your body fat is too high. And how does your body fat get super high? Well, pretty obvious: poor diet, lack of exercise, inconsistency. Just comes down to just being in a calorie surplus on a consistent basis, not training hard or even going to the gym at all. And another thing to note is that it doesn't matter how big your abdominal muscles are. If you're too fat, you will not see them. So if you're at 35, 30% body fat and you have the most jacked ab muscles ever, you're not going to see them. Like, you're still not going to see them. So it's 100% reliant on body fat levels. So just keep that in mind when we go through the rest of the video here. So the first reason why 92% of men will never see their abs is because they're focusing too much on ab workouts as opposed to diet. So you don't need to train abs all the time to get them to show. I see people like saying, "Oh, try this 30-minute ab workout. Get your abs in 2 months, or I don't know, 2 weeks or something," which is total BS because that's not how you get abs. For reference, I do literally 6 sets of leg raises per week and have a visible six pack year round. I mean, it is what it is. Like, you don't need to train abs super consistently. And also, if you're just weightlifting on a consistent basis, then you're engaging your core in like pretty much every single exercise. So that's more than enough. So if you're just weightlifting on a consistent basis, you're already going to be ahead of a vast majority of people. So what I do is 3 days a week, I'll just do like 2 sets, like at the end of some of my workouts. I pretty much at the end of my, like my chest workouts and arm workouts, I'll throw in a little bit of abs here and there. That's about it. So abs are made in the kitchen. It's sounds like cliche, redundant. You've heard it a million times, but it is so true because, well, I shouldn't say abs are made in the kitchen. Abs are made from being in a calorie deficit, I should say. But in order to be in a calorie deficit, you need to make sure you're eating right. Make sure the nutrition is in place. So another thing people really need, like a big mistake a lot of people make, is eating healthy does not equate to fat loss. Sometimes people will be like, I'll get DMs from people that are like, "Oh, I'm eating super healthy. I'm eating eggs, fruit, almond milk, avocados, like all these just, what people deem to be healthy foods." But just because they're healthy, that does not mean they're low in calories. You can, I think I talked about this in my last video, but if your maintenance calories is 2,500 and you eat 2,000 calories of ice cream and pizza per day, you're going to lose weight because you're in a 500 calorie deficit. And same thing on the other side of the spectrum. If you're eating 2,700 calories of chicken, rice, vegetables, things like that, you're gonna gain weight. I'm hoping this is starting to click to you guys. But yeah, eating healthy does not mean fat loss. And what does mean fat loss is a consistent calorie deficit over a long period of time. With a high protein, whole food diet is always going to be your best bet. A lot of people are fans of like if it fits your macros diet, which I mean it's good, but really at the end of the day, if you can just stick to foods that are going to make you feel full throughout the day, that is always going to be your best bet. Because because a lot of like whole foods, like like vegetables, meat, like lean meat and stuff like that, that stuff is going to make you feel much more full than I don't know, other foods that are like processed, that are even the other foods that are processed that a lot of people eat. So high protein whole food diet, calorie deficit, that is a recipe for fat loss. So another big reason why only 8% of men have a six pack is because they're only focusing on cardio and not weight training. Cardio is a tool you can leverage and use to support your calorie deficit. Cardio should not be the sole focus of your workouts unless you want to be like a runner or like a sprinter or something in that realm, like a swimmer or something, things like that. But if you just want to get in shape, you're going to want to prioritize weightlifting. Like for reference, I do 30 minutes of cardio per day year round just for health purposes. If I'm trying to like really cut, then I'll increase the cardio a bit, but year round base of 30 minutes of cardio, it's like a non-negotiable for me, that I just always do. And you should implement cardio as well every single day, or at least get like 10,000 steps in or something. That's really should be enough. Do weight training before your cardio as well. A big mistake people will make is that they'll do like a super intense like running on the treadmill, and what that'll do is just make you feel like super tired and fatigued. So when it's time to hit the weights, you can't hit the weights with as much intensity. So make sure you do your weight training before cardio. Or what this is kind of what I do. I do my cardio fasted like first thing in the morning. Then I wait like 4.5 hours, then go weight train, and it doesn't really have an impact on me then. But keep that in mind. Don't do cardio right before you weight train. If you really insist to do cardio before, wait at least 4 hours, at least, ideally more. Focus on strength training. What that's going to do is help build muscle and help with nutrient partitioning. So the process of building muscle, like repairing the muscle that you break down during your workout, requires nutrients and calories, obviously, right? Obviously, you're not going to be able to build muscle if you don't eat, right? It's pretty standard. So all you really need is 4 to 6 hours a week in the gym. As long as the intensity is there, you don't have to be spending stupid amount of hours in the gym just weightlifting and just doing fluff work, just doing like really random workouts, really. It's extremely hard to get abs without prioritizing weightlifting. Because if you like think of runners and sprinters, like those guys, I mean, yeah, they have abs, but they're also like extremely lean, like 8%, probably sub 8% body fat. But I'm willing to bet that if you clicked on this video, you are not a sprinter or a runner, honestly. So only focusing on cardio is how you become skinny fat. You don't have a lot of muscle. You basically, shed some fat, but that layer of fat, it's super hard to get sub 8% body fat, sub 9, like 8% body fat. Even me, it's like it takes me a while to get there. Like I'm usually like around 10ish year round or so, which you can still see your abs at 10. But if you don't have a foundation of muscle, then it's going to be much harder to see your abs. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you burn at rest as well. So obviously, like if you have like an extra 20 to 30 pounds of muscle on your frame, your maintenance calories to maintain your weight is going to be significantly higher, because more muscle, faster metabolism. And the number one reason why 92% of men will never see their abs, and this is one that I was even guilty of myself: excuses. So blaming genetics. So genetics has little or nothing to do with body fat. If you're like, say if you're like, I don't know, your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents were all obese, then that just really means that the habits and lifestyle choices get passed down. Like, sure, some people have, I think it's like mesomorph. I can't remember exactly what the body type is called, but some people, yeah, they do have some people have a little bit harder time losing body fat, but just work harder. Like, just because you have it harder does not mean that you shouldn't work at all, right? Body fat is based on lifestyle choices and habits. Like, I kind of said this earlier, but your genetics did not make you eat 4 slices of pizza, a whole bag of chips, and a 2 liter of soda yesterday. Like it really just comes down to habits and choices. It's really all it. It's lack of time. That's a big mistake, a big excuse a lot of people make. That's probably the most common one, honestly. And all you really need is 4 to 6 hours a week in the gym. That is it. And then you just gotta, do some meal prep, which honestly saves time, if anything. So you don't need time to be in a calorie deficit, right? And honestly, I'm honestly willing to argue that you'll save time by being in a calorie deficit because you won't be eating as much. You'll have more structure in your meals. You'll even meal prep, like just spend like, I don't know, 30 minutes prepping your meals and then just bringing it to work the next day. Like, I don't know why that's so difficult for some people. Maybe I'm just ignorant, but I don't know. I think I've never had a problem with that, even when I was going to college full time, working full time, and going to the gym every single day, and studying and doing all of that. I had no problem preparing my meals and going to the gym on a consistent basis because people give value to people give time to what is important to them. If your health is truly a priority for you, truly important, then you would make the time, and you don't have to sacrifice a whole lot of time either to get in shape. It's a huge misconception people have. And every food choice you make is completely your fault. Every time you go through the fast food drive through at Wendy's, go to McDonald's, get like 3 Big Macs, that is your fault. That is not your genetics. That is not because you have a lack of time. That is just because you are, I don't know, don't have self-control. Because if you, like I mentioned earlier, if you just prepped your meals the night before, I don't know, take like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, if tops. No, there's no way it'll take an hour. But if you just prep your meals the night before, then you just bring it to work, then you're good. Like if you do that, you're going to save more time than going to I don't know, the fast food place, waiting through the drive-through. You're going to save probably a good 15 minutes per day. So that's just something a lot of people don't seem to get. No one forces you to eat like shit and overeat every single day. No one's like holding a gun to your head and saying, "Hey, eat this Big Mac. Hey, eat this pizza." No one is doing that to you. Or at least I hope not. But yeah, that is every food you put into your mouth is your choice and your fault. So what some expectations? So those are the 3 reasons that why 92% of men will never see their abs. But if you want to see your abs, this is what you should expect. It can be a long-term process to get your abs. Depending on where you start, it can be 6+ months for some people. Like if you're at like, I don't know, 30 plus body fat percentage, yeah, it's gonna probably take like 6+ months. But if you think about it, in order to get up to 30% plus body fat, how long do you think that took? No, it probably took a couple years to get there. So what makes you think it's gonna be a quick to get back down? So if you do everything right, you can do it in around 6 months, maybe 6 months to a year, depending on where you're at. You need to make a permanent change in your lifestyle if you want to go from 30% to like 12% body fat and maintain it. And this was something I was kind of thinking about earlier, or when I was making this the slide deck here, that people who are like super high body fat percentage, like 40 plus, when they get like a liposuction, like surgery to get like fat removed, what ends up happening is that they just gain all the fat back because they did not make the lifestyle changes in order to maintain a low body fat percentage. So that's a big one. I'm not like a liposuction. I'm not talking about if you lose a bunch of weight and then you got to get the excess your what's it called, extra skin removed. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like actually someone going in and removing the fat off your body, because you are just going to gain all the fat back if you did not change your lifestyle habits. So that's what you need to make a permanent change in your habits. It mostly has to do with portion sizes and food selection. Again, going back to what I mentioned earlier, you want to have a high protein, calorie deficit for a long period of time on a consistent basis, I should say. And also prioritizing whole foods and doing, meal prep, saving some time then. Yeah, so if you feel like if you've been trying to lose weight by just like eyeballing your portion sizes, you need to start tracking your calories. You can only get so far if you just eyeball your calories. Like eventually it's gonna, once you get to like, I don't know, sub 15% body fat, if you're able to make it that far with eyeballing stuff, eventually you're gonna have to start tracking your stuff, at least for a time being. So if eyeballing or intuitive eating worked, then you would have had abs years ago. That's just the facts. You can't expect to have something 92% of men do not have if you aren't willing to do what 92% of men aren't willing to do. That's a big one. So, so again, kind of going back to the liposuction event example. People get liposuctions and then not be able to keep the fat off because they haven't built up the habits. They aren't doing what 92% of men aren't willing to do, like lifestyle changes and like habit changes in order to maintain a six pack. So you got to keep that in mind. You can't be living like having a lifestyle with, shitty eating habits, being lazy, and just not working out on a consistent basis and expect to get and maintain a six pack year round. So not that getting abs is super hard once you figure out how to do it and lose fat sustainably. Yeah, it can take some time, but it's really not that hard. As long as you just, stick with it and be consistent, it's really, really not that hard. It just takes time. So yeah, it takes the slightest amount of discipline and self-control. I should actually take that back. At first, it's going to be hard because you're going to have to be, you're going to really have to change your habits, and changing habits can be difficult for a lot of people, myself included. I'm not gonna lie, myself included. When I started changing my habits, it definitely took some time. I called it just growing pains. When you feel resistance and when you're trying to make a lifestyle change and you feel resistance, that is a good thing. If you can push through that resistance, that means you are growing as an individual and completely changing your life. So keep that in mind. So that is it for this video, guys. That is why 92% of men will never see their abs. But if you watch this video and you make these corrections, then there's no reason why you can't be part of the 8%. So hope you guys enjoyed. If anyone needs help, shoot me a follow on Instagram, DM me Shred. I literally answer any questions that I get. My DMs are kind of getting crowded, I'm not gonna lie, recently, but I still make time. I still block out hours of my day to reply to everyone. So go ahead, drop me a follow on Instagram, DM me if anyone has any questions, and I'd be happy to help and answer any questions.